absorb, absorb, absorb. Definition: to drink in or suck up, as a sponge absorbs water. Absorbent adjectives. Additional information on usage. Literal meaning: to take in or soak up liquid, light, or heat. Figurative meanings: acquiring knowledge, to absorb information, to fully understand and remember information. Capturing attention, to be absorbed in something, to be so interested in something that you give it all your attention. For example, plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air. Absorption, absorption, absorption. Definition: the act or process of absorbing. Absorb verb. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1 Physics Chemistry, the process by which one substance, such as a liquid or gas, is taken up by another, for example, water absorption. Nuance 2 Psychology, a state of being extremely engrossed, or giving your full attention to something, for example, total absorption in her work. For example, vitamin C increases the absorption of iron from food. Abstain, abstain, abstain. Definition: to keep oneself back from doing or using something. Abstain from something. Abstention noun. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1 Health Lifestyle, to avoid doing something harmful or indulging in unhealthy pleasures, for example, abstain from alcohol. Nuance 2 Politics, to choose not to use one's vote to cast a blank ballot. For example, the doctor advised him to abstain from smoking for the sake of his lungs. Abstemious, abstemious, abstemious. Definition: characterized by self-denial or abstinence, as in the use of drink, food. Abstemiously adverb. Some synonyms: temperate, moderate. Additional information on usage. Nuance: used to describe someone who does not eat much rich food or drink a lot of alcohol. Positive connotation: it carries a positive meaning regarding self-discipline and moderation. For example, despite the banquet's variety, she remained abstemious, choosing only a small salad. Abstinence, abstinence, abstinence. Definition: self-denial. Abstain verb. Total abstinence. Additional information on usage. Context: usually used to refer to refraining from things that can be addictive or harmful, especially alcohol or sex, for health, religious, or moral reasons. For example, the athlete's abstinence from junk food helped him stay in peak physical condition. Abstruse, abstruse, abstruse. Definition: dealing with matters difficult to be understood. Some synonyms: obscure, profound. Some antonyms: simple, obvious. Additional information on usage. Nuance: used to describe things that are highly academic, abstract, or excessively complex, making them difficult for ordinary people to grasp. For example, the professor's lectures were often too abstruse for the undergraduate students. Abundant, abundant, abundant. Definition: plentiful. Abundance noun. Some synonyms: ample, copious. Some antonyms: scarce. Additional information on usage. Nuance: used to describe a large quantity of something, often more than is strictly necessary. It is frequently used when discussing natural resources, evidence, or opportunities. For example, there is abundant evidence that cars have a harmful effect on the environment. Absurd, absurd, absurd. Definition: inconsistent with reason or common sense. Absurdity noun. Some synonyms: ridiculous, ludicrous. Additional information on usage. Nuance: used to describe an event or idea that is completely absurd, ridiculous to the point of being laughable. For example, It is absurd to suggest that he would steal the money. Abusive, abusive, abusive. Definition: employing harsh words or ill treatment. Abuse noun. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1 verbal refers to the use of insulting or coarse language intended to attack or offend others, for example, abusive language. Nuance 2 physical mental refers to behaviors involving violence or cruel treatment of a physical or emotional nature, for example, an abusive relationship. For example, he became abusive when the waiter brought the wrong order. Abyss, abyss, abyss. Definition: bottomless gulf. Common phrase: an abyss of despair. Additional information on usage. Literal meaning: used to refer to a deep hole or a vast space so large that the bottom cannot be seen, for example, the ocean floor. Figurative meaning: refers to an extremely bad or dangerous situation, or a wide gap or difference between two groups of people or opinions that cannot be bridged. For example, the divers stared down into the dark abyss of the underwater cave. Abut, abut, abut. Definition: to touch at the end or boundary line. Common phrase: abut on or onto something. Some synonyms: adjoin, border. Additional information on usage. Nuance: frequently used to describe buildings, pieces of land, or countries that are situated next to each other and share a common border or boundary line. For example, the new garage abuts onto the neighbor's brick wall. Academy, academy, academy. Definition: any institution where the higher branches of learning are taught. Academic adjective, academia noun. Additional information on usage. Nuance: frequently used for specialized schools focusing on the arts, military, or organizations that promote science and culture, for example, military academy. For example, the police academy provides rigorous training for all new recruits. Academician, academician, academician. Definition: member of an academy of literature, art, or science. Additional information on usage. Nuance: this is a prestigious title reserved for individuals who have made outstanding contributions to the fields of academia or the arts, often signifying membership in distinguished national organizations. For example, as a distinguished academician, she has published over 50 papers on linguistics. Academic, academic, academic. Definition: or pertaining to an academy, college, or university. Academic noun. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1, used to refer to activities related to education, study, and research, as opposed to practical or technical skills. Nuance 2 figurative, used to describe an issue that is purely theoretical, with no practical application or importance in the current situation. For example, the question is purely academic. For example, the school offers a balance between academic subjects and vocational training. Accede, accede, accede. Definition: to agree. Common structure: accede to something. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1, used to describe the act of agreeing to a request or proposal, often after initially refusing or hesitating, typically used in formal contexts. Nuance 2 figurative, refers to a country joining a treaty or becoming a member of an international organization. For example, several more nations have recently acceded to the Climate Change Treaty. Accept, accept, accept. Definition: to take when offered. Additional information on usage. Nuance 1, used when you agree to receive something such as a gift, an invitation, or an apology. Nuance 2, used to agree that something is true, fair, or satisfactory. For example, accept the truth. For example, he was happy to accept the invitation to the wedding. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. Definition: to move faster. Acceleration noun. Usage note: Nuance 1, used to describe increasing the speed of an object or vehicle, for example, stepping on the gas pedal. Nuance 2, refers to a process or event happening faster than expected, for example, economic growth. For example, the car accelerated to overtake the bus. Access, access, access. Definition: a way of approach or entrance. Passage. Access verb. Usage note: Nuance 1 noun, refers to a physical way or route to enter a place, for example, a back door, tunnel. Nuance 2 figurative, the right or opportunity to use or see something, for example, access to the internet. For example, the only access to the village is by boat. Accessible, accessible, accessible. Definition: approachable. Usage note: Nuance 1, used to describe a place that is easy to get to or an object that is easy to obtain. Nuance 2, used for information or knowledge that is easy to understand and not overly complex. For example, an accessible book. Nuance 3, used to describe a person who is open, friendly, and easy to talk to or approach. For example, despite his fame, the professor remained incredibly accessible to his students. Accession, accession, accession. Definition: induction or elevation, as to dignity, office, or government. Usage note: Nuance 1, commonly used to refer to the occasion when someone formally becomes a king or queen, the act of taking the throne. Nuance 2, refers to the act of a country officially joining an international organization or agreeing to a treaty. Nuance 3, in the context of libraries or museums, it refers to the process of adding a new item to an existing collection. For example, the country is preparing for the Queen's accession to the throne.